Hey guys, this is Derek. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to give you guys a quick tutorial walking you through my painting process on Photoshop on how I went about painting this really easy sunflower field. Okay, let's get started. So like most of my paintings, I start with a really rough sketch to begin with. The idea of creating these rough sketches is not to bring in any details or start with any composition as such. As you can see, I'm just roughly placing in the fact that there are going to be flowers in the foreground, roughly capturing in their size, and also making the flowers on the bottom right the key focus at the moment. So I didn't really want to go into making the character the main focus over here, so that's why I added in the character as secondary and started with the background first. And as you can see, I've left a little open space in the sky on the top left. That is because I wanted to add in a dragon, and over there I didn't want any clouds or anything to interfere with its shape and to give it a clear, strong silhouette. So as you can see, I'm just finalizing up on the sketches over here. It actually took me a few minutes to actually figure out on how to place this dragon properly. Then I lower the opacity of that layer and I move on to painting the sky. As you can see, it's extremely saturated with the blue, and so the brushes I'm using are very basic. You don't really have to bother about the brushes, just use whatever you're comfortable with. But if you want to know the brushes I'm using, I will probably link it in the description to my brush set. Otherwise it used to be there in my Instagram bio, but I'll just link it down in the description again. So for clouds I use another brush, and that you can find in the brush set as well if you're interested. Otherwise use any brush, even a normal soft brush, soft round brush works well. And so I use the eraser in the same shape of the clouds to help sculpt the clouds in. And as you can see, I haven't gone to pure white yet in the clouds. I have kept it very light blue, even though it may look white on the screen. And another important thing to note is, for most of the painting, until I finally get into the details, I keep it at a very zoomed out space. So this gives me a good overall view of the painting. And sometimes you may see that I keep going, looking up to the right at the navigator space where there are colors right now. I will switch that out later, as you all will see, to just keep a constant eye on how the painting looks overall. Normally I do flip the canvas across the horizontal axis to see if it looks good from both directions, but this time I just went with it. Usually it's a very good practice to flip the axis. So as you can see, when I'm adding in grass, I try switching up the hues a little and not making it just one same shade of grass, but also adding in, moving the slider a little bit to the yellow side and adding in colors over there. And now I'm just creating the sunflowers that are going to be there at the base. So the way I added in the details for this is just roughly start blocking in a large shape of the flowers. Like, I did not want to draw on each flower one at a time. I left that into the end. And as you can see, I went from yellow, adding into more and more orange, and I wanted to keep a constant eye on okay, I don't know why the color picker disappeared from the screen. I'm not too sure about that. I'll try to fix it, but sometimes my screen recorder does not record things that are floating like that. But as you can see in the navigator on the top right, that is what I usually look at most of the time when I'm working. Especially sometimes when I zoom in to do the details, it's very helpful, gives me a good look on the top. You can find the navigator just by going to the window, drag it down and clicking navigator. So this process actually took a few minutes, just adding in a rough idea of flowers in the distance. I didn't really draw each dot by dot. I just found a speckle brush and dotted it around everywhere just to give the idea that there are flowers. That's one thing about details. Don't spend a lot of time on them, especially for a quick personal piece like this one. Just give a semblance of the idea, as if I had gone in, zoomed in and drawn each one of those flowers and zoomed out back to this view, they would still look pretty much the same, right? Okay, yeah, so now I'm starting to add in the front grass. This is I figured that um, I would try to place this camera view as sort of cutting through to the field of sunflowers, so I'll have some of the bottom half below the flowers also visible. I thought that would be like a cool composition idea. So as you can see, this is how it will play out. So the idea here is also again to keep it loose. First roughly draw and get an idea, see if that looks good or not, especially the stems over here, the leaves, or do they look too botchy. Then you can always clean them up later. So as you can see, I started with the darkest shades first, and on top of that I built on the stalks with the lighter shades of green, and that's where you get this semblance of depth, you know. So over here I started with the darker colors first, and then on that built up layers of lighter colors. Adding in the sunflowers now were really fun actually. Like I had fun over here, had some music going on, and mainly they're just sketching out radial discs with petals to it. And so yeah, this was the initial idea that I had, and the process is here I first sketched out the lightest color of the sunflower, and then I wanted to add in some depth, so I added in a little orange to give it some texture to the flower, and I finally added in the centers, which I gave them a strong reddish tone over here. And that's actually pretty much it before I actually go on to adding in the character and the dragon. So it's just touching up over here, like the light source is coming a little, I guess, from the top left, so I added in the highlights accordingly. As you can see on the clouds how it's shaded in a similar way, the direction of light I tried to keep it on the sunflowers. At this point I was just adding in bits of green into the field just to give it some sort of depth and irregularity. Like I didn't want it to just be a bank of yellow and orange, you know. So a little breakaway does make it feel better. And at this point I changed my composition, and I figured, hey, why not compose it a little better, at least this is my opinion, where I have the girl in the foreground along with the sunflowers on the right side, and have the dragon on the top left side. And I thought, okay, hey, this works. And the idea is then, again, I follow the similar process of first starting in with a rough sketch, then lowering the opacity, and then just blocking in the colors, basically. Sometimes I do give them a black outline, but here they're really tiny, right? So I didn't think it was needed. Now, there's an important thing that I do over here, is that once I block in the colors roughly, I then alpha lock it, which you will see on the right above the layers. There's an option called lock, and it's the first option over there. That usually what it does is it does not allow me to shade outside the character that I've already painted in. So I think I'll probably do that for the dragon now once I get to it. I actually didn't know what color to pick for the dragon, so I first silhouetted it with a bright neon green. Yeah, that didn't look good at all. After that, I don't know what I was thinking. So then I just tried to change things up, and okay, I don't know why the hue saturation sliders are not showing up in the screen recording. I need to find another screen recorder. This does not cut it. And then I went with purple initially, and now that I look at it, I think this actually looks better than what it turned out finally when I made it red. But that being said, why did I go with red? So you see the colors, the sunflowers on the bottom right, the red really stands out, right? So I wanted something like the dragon to stand out in the sky with a similar red, and create some balance. But I don't know what I was thinking, actually. I just went with it. So this is, I guess, what I mean by experimenting and having fun with your paintings. Like Here I'm just adding in some more finer details just to make it look a little complex when it's not. Actually, these are very rough. And here what I did was I just played with the hue. Again, it's not visible for some reason. I think I'll use adjustment layers in the future to show you guys how I do it instead of these floating sliders. And I went with this then. Yeah, and I was just trying some filters on it and they didn't really help, so I just went with the soft warming look. But I'll give you guys a proper tutorial later on filters and how to use them and adding in grain and so on. And yeah, that's it overall. So this is how the final painting looks. I hope you guys liked this video. So I'll try putting up videos whenever I can, hopefully about twice a week, and stay tuned for more. And I hope you guys like this channel. This is super fun for me. I'm actually having a lot of fun thinking about and making these videos, so I'm enjoying this. So thanks guys.